everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Robbie Crager, the Flip Flop Flipper. We are value-add real estate investors, and on this channel, we tell you what we do, why we do it, and we invite partnerships all day long. Guys, like and subscribe to the channel. You've asked the questions, we're gonna answer them. Okay, Adnan, ask away. You ask, I'll answer. Let's go, my friend.
In comparison to the United States, why don't realtors offer more information on their listings to other realtors?
In comparison to the United States, why don't realtors share information together well on the island of Puerto Rico versus back home in the States? Well, I'm not exactly sure what their internal reasons are, but I can speak about the system and compare them and contrast them. So in Florida, where we're from, where we have most of our experience over the last 26 years, we have a really good system for selling real estate, especially the standard stuff. So if you're going to buy, fix, and sell a home, an apartment, a condominium, a townhome, or a multifamily, either small, big, medium, or large, it doesn't matter. When you put it on the market, you're going to give it to your local favorite realtor, and they're going to put it on what's called the multiple listing service. And when they do that, that property is going to go out to all of the other realtors, and it's going to be able to be sold through that network. And those realtors are going to work together, and they like to work together and share their commissions. Now, why do they, and I was a real estate broker in the States for 20 years or so. Why do we share the information? Why do we share the commissions? It's because that's the fastest and easiest way for people to do volume business. And so on the island of Puerto Rico, we do have a version of the MLS. We do have some realtors who will play nice with other realtors, but really it does seem that culturally they don't like to share. I hope that's okay to say. That's been our experience, to the point that we could be in a condominium complex where there are, say, 3 different apartments for sale, and we're looking at something where we want to live in it. Let's say this is a real life story. We're there, we're looking at a 3rd story apartment inside of this condominium on the beach in Isla Verde, and we like the building, but we don't love the condo. So we asked the realtor we're with, is there anything else for sale in this building? And the answer is no, there's nothing else for sale. That's all we've got. And then I go home because I like the building, and I start hunting around on the internet in classificados, and I find 2 other properties that are for sale with 2 other realtors, and I have to call each of those realtors in order to see their condo that's for sale, because they don't share the information. They don't put it on a central MLS. And so it's a much, much harder place for a buyer to find a great property, or for a buyer to find a property at all. So in Florida, that same realtor would take me to the condominium complex, and she'd show me all 3 of the condos that were for sale in that building, and I would get to compare and contrast and make offers on all of them if I want, one of them if I want. It doesn't matter. She'd feel protected because she would know that there's a relationship through the MLS, that she's going to get paid by bringing me as a buyer. Where in Puerto Rico, it's just not that way. It's much more of a hoarder situation where the realtors, they're not even board certified, so they're not realtors necessarily. They're just real estate agents, and they don't share the information, and they don't share listings, and they don't like to share commissions. So we hope that that system is going to improve on the island, right? Like, so there is an MLS system, and it is starting to get some adoption. And so we know that if you're like with the Remaxes of the world, they will play nice with other people. And so if you have the choice when you're coming to the island and you're looking for something, I would ask the realtor that you're using, hey, do you guys co-broke? Are you only going to show me listings that are your listing, or are you going to be able to show me listings that are in an MLS system, or at least a network system, so that you're able to look at multiple properties rather than what we've had to go through over the last 6 years, where you have to really hunt and search, which is great for a real estate investor, by the way. It gives the advantage to me as a real estate investor, the fact that there's chaos and the fact that there's flaws in the system on the island of Puerto Rico. So there can be a massive arbitrage between the 3 apartments that are for sale in the one building, and one on the 3rd floor may be for sale for $500,000, and the one on the 6th floor might be for sale for $350,000, and the one on the 1st floor for some reason is for sale for $1 million. And so there is a massive arbitrage between these apartments, and if you can figure out how to successfully navigate the system that is here, you can buy great deals. So obviously you would want to focus on the property, assuming everything else is equal. You'd want to focus on the one that's priced the least, and it can really be that big. It can be a very drastic difference because there's not a MLS system that everybody puts their properties on. They don't get to a point where you have uniformity. And so there's massive arbitrage between what prices are in different buildings. When we're identifying a new value add real estate deal that we want to buy, that we want to purchase, and we want to bring it up to its highest and best use, what we're looking for is distress. So one of the key things that we're going to look for when we're looking for the next investment, we call them the deal of a lifetime, hopefully, we are looking for distress. We're looking for something that would indicate to us that the property is priced at a valuation because it has lots of work that's needed, or it has seller distress, or it has no revenues. You're able to buy it down here, and then we want to be able to force the value through value add real estate investing. And really, this is what we do. This is how we make our money, guys. We force the value. We buy something that has no use or has low use, that's in very distressed condition, and we rethink it to its highest and best use, and then we invest a bunch of money into it and bring it up to its highest and best use. So a good deal looks like something we can buy low down here, and we'll use real life examples, right? So a mixed use building in Santurce, Puerto Rico recently that we purchased for $335,000. It's 18,000 square feet. It's highly distressed, has relatively no income. There's someone running a bodega in the ground floor, and she pays $1,100 or $1,200 a month. That's it. That's the whole revenue. About 8,000 or 9,000 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor is just sitting vacant, distressed, and empty. And then 11 apartments on the second and third floor are sitting there vacant, distressed, empty, no doors, no windows, no power, no water, right? So there's a lot of improvement that we can do to the building. So we buy it at the $335,000. This building's 18,000 square feet, by the way. It could become a hotel, it could become a grocery store, it could have multiple food concepts and have restaurants. It could be anything, right? Like you could put a market in there where you just have people come and sell their goods and their wares. And so these are all kinds of ideas that we run through when we're buying it. We're buying it at this distressed level. We then would have a plan to do the value add and force the value up. So as we invest money into the commercial space, the building value goes up. And then as we rent out the commercial space, once we've improved the value, the building value goes up once again. And then the same thing on the second floor and the third floor. We can go literally apartment by apartment and fix them up. And as we fix them up, we improve the value, we improve the revenues. And at the end of the day, we'll have multiple streams of income. We'll have a building that's working at its highest and best use. And we took it from something that was completely distressed and had no use. People couldn't live there. People couldn't run their business there. There wasn't power and water. So we buy something that's severely distressed. That's value add real estate investing. Now, you don't have to do that kind of real estate investing. There are other ways to come up with a good deal, but that's what we do on this channel. That's why you subscribe to the channel. You can watch us do this in real time as well, right? Like, so we show you the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we go from building to building, and we show you what it looked like when we bought it, and then along the way, how we do the value add. We even talk through what's the highest and best use and how we get there.
Do you always work with partners and investors? And if you do, why?
So do we always work with investors? Do we always partner with people? Two answers to that. Pre-Puerto Rico, the answer was mostly no. We did have a very tight-knit group of investors and partners that we used again and again on deals. But after coming to Puerto Rico and starting our business here 6 years ago, we've really lived into this idea of abundance, and we believe that we expand our business through partnerships. So we're looking for local partners, whether that's a skill set that they have or money that they have or a family property that they bring to the table, or someone who, like Adon, wants to learn to become a real estate investor and has some other completely different skill set, like helping us with a YouTube channel. We're looking to partner with people where they can bring value to us, we can bring value to them. And the island of Puerto Rico offers this unique place and time in history where I think that decades from now, people will look back at what's going on the island from like 2018 through, maybe 2030 or 35. I don't know how long this will last, but right now, currently, as we're sitting here speaking to you, there is a massive need for people to partner together, people to start businesses together, people to improve properties together. And so we believe that that's the best way for us to do business. And are we afraid of inviting competition and making it harder for ourselves? I would say that on the island of Puerto Rico, there's just so much opportunity that it would nearly be impossible for us over the next several years to see that play out. Now, keep in mind, we left Florida because the deals got thinner and thinner. The competition became so great and everybody was after the same exact deals. Everybody had the same business model. Nobody was partnering together. But a good deal, for instance, in Florida 6 years ago looked like a $200,000 investment where your best case scenario was that you could make a 20% return if everything went well. And when we came to Puerto Rico, we could take the same $200,000, we could divide it over like 3 properties. And our worst case scenario at the time was a 40% return. So we had a floor of 40% in Puerto Rico. We had a ceiling of 20% in Florida. The chances that that is going to catch up eventually, 100% it will. But there's a long time between now and then. And so we still believe that Puerto Rico represents the best place for you to become a value-add real estate investor, that partnerships are the way to go. We're not afraid of competition. In fact, we invite competition because we want to see our neighbors doing well. We want to see the neighborhoods we're investing in being lifted up. And the truth is, we're a small business, right? So it's myself, my wife, my business partner, his wife, and a few key employees and a few key partners like Adon. But we can't do enough that we could ever really affect the island of Puerto Rico. So there has to be partnerships with locals. There has to be partnerships with other investors. And that's how the island is going to be lifted up. So we're not afraid at all about competition. This whole channel is based on the premise that there's an abundance and that there's plenty for all. So that's why you guys like and subscribe to the channel.
How do you put together a good real estate team?
Yeah, so who should be on your team, right? Like, who do we partner with? When we first came to the island, the first thing we did was we reached out to known real estate investors and realtors or real estate agents. And what we did is we tried to meet with them and sit down and say, hey, guys, we're coming to the island. Here's who we are. We are value-add real estate investors, been doing this for 20 years, have done thousands of deals in the housing sector. And we're going to buy houses, we're going to fix them up, and we're going to sell them onto the market to FHA buyers, we're going to fix them up and rent them. I mean, these were the businesses that we had in mind. And so part of our team was to find good realtors who could bring us deals, to find other real estate investors who we could partner with, and even the realtors who brought us deals. There were 12 of them that we initially reached out to, and we asked them all the same question. You're showing us what you're saying is a great deal. We don't have the ability to prove that to ourselves. So here's the question. Will you invest in the deal that you're saying is the deal of a lifetime? Half of them flat out told us no. They're just realtors. They're only looking for the commission. Sorry. And so we didn't do deals with them and we didn't generally buy their properties. But there were 6 that said, you know what? We've never been offered this opportunity before. We've never been asked to partner with a real estate investor, but I'm in. I know that it's a great deal. And the 6 that decided to partner with us would say things like, hey, Robert, I don't have a lot of money. I've never been offered an opportunity like this, but what I do have, I've got a few $1,000s and I've got a commission check coming when we buy this. And we'll buy it. We'll set up a joint venture. I'll help you to find the people to renovate it. And on the back end, we'll list it again and we'll get the property sold. And that was enough for us, right? So someone was willing to put a few $1,000s plus their commission at risk. And we were buying things, guys, 6 years ago. We were buying houses for $25,000, $30,000 and then putting $25,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 in them and then selling them for $100,000, $120,000. So a commission on that deal plus a few $1,000s, might represent 10% of the overall deal structure. But that's what we wanted. We wanted the buy-in from these people to be our partners, and we wanted their knowledge. We wanted their expertise. And it was super successful for them and for us. And we've now gone on to do dozens, maybe tens of dozens of deals with the same group of people. Yeah. So I think going back to the question was, who should be on the team? A good realtor should be on the team. Other real estate investors should be on the team. guys, you're going to need a great closing agent. So if you're in the States, you're going to want to find a friendly closing agent that does title insurance and works with real estate investors, because you real estate investors are going to be thinking outside of the box. And if you just go to the everyday title company that doesn't work with real estate investors, they're not going to understand your deal structure. They're not going to understand some of the things that you're doing. So you've got to find someone who works with real estate investors. It's really important. On the island of Puerto Rico, you want to find an attorney who is a notary and that closes real estate transactions. And it's the same thing. You want to find those people that are willing to think outside of the box and that are willing to be problem solvers, because truthfully, as real estate investors, the problems are where you make your money. So if you can find something that's got a title problem and you're partnered with a great title agent and they can help you work through that, that's a win. If you find something that has an estate problem and you've got an attorney who's a notary public on the island of Puerto Rico, but they can also help close out the estate and take things through probate. I'm not even sure if they're called probate here on the island of Puerto Rico, but you get the picture. If they can take that through and finalize the estate and then sell the property, there's great deals to be had there. So they're important to the team. And then all of that is important with the acquisition phase. Then you want to find great contractors, right? Like, so a third of it, the most important, we say it like this, the most important part of a real estate transaction is buying it, right? So you want to have a great team that helps you find the deal of a lifetime to buy stuff. Then as soon as you've closed on it, the next thing you need to do is the value add, the investment into it. So immediately turns to the most important part of the deal now is finish the project. You need a great contractor. You need a great supplier of materials, especially on the island of Puerto Rico, right? So these are people that you want to partner with as well. A great contractor is a must. A great attorney on the acquisition side is a must, and on the sell side. And then the third stage, once you've finished it, once you've finished the property and you've got it ready to go back on the market to either rent or to sell, you want to have somebody who can help you very quickly find a buyer or find a renter. So again, that goes back to partnering with realtors or partnering with property managers. So there's all kinds of different levels to this partnership that we offer. And it could even be someone who's watching this channel that has a skill set and a mindset of, I want to be in business, in the real estate business, and this is what I'm really good at. I'm good at property management. So I would potentially run a small guest house hotel, or I'm a contractor and I've been renovating houses for real estate investors and homeowners for 10 years, and I really know my trade, but I want to get outside of just working for someone else and constantly having a job, and I want to get into becoming an investor. And so, Robert, we partner on that. Or people in the comment section can even form partnerships together, right? Like, so like-minded people getting together and finding skill sets and putting them together where 1 and 1 equals 3, 4, or 5. That's the kind of partnership that we're looking for. Those are the people that you want on the team. I hope that answers that question.
When buying all these properties, do you think about your ideal customer and how do you market to them?
Yeah, so let's give a few examples of who the ideal customer is or who the ideal end user is for a different project, and they could change. So example one, let's say when we first came to the island, we wanted to buy inexpensive houses that were highly distressed. There had just been a massive hurricane, and so we knew that we would be able to find these things. And we wanted to renovate it, fix it up to be a house, and then sell it on to someone who was going to live there. So our ideal end user was a homeowner, and there was a housing shortage. So we knew that if we could come in, buy something that was distressed, fix it up, and then put it back on the market, that there would be a line of people who wanted to buy it, who could get an FHA loan. And our ideal customer in that case was someone who wanted to be a homeowner, that didn't have the skill set to buy something that was distressed, or didn't have the cash to buy something that was distressed. So they needed the property to be fixed up, renovated, turned back into a house that the lights would come on, the windows would open and shut, the doors would work, the plumbing worked, it would pass an FHA inspection, right? So our ideal customer was someone who wanted to be a homeowner and wanted to go to the bank and borrow out the most of the money. So we could buy it cheap, renovate it for some money, and then sell it at the market valuation. It looked a lot like a $35,000 purchase, a $30,000 renovation, and $110,000 sales price to an end user. That's example number one. Number two, we were also simultaneously to that buying small multifamily properties. So our idea was that if we could buy a 4, 5, 6, 7 family home or small apartment building and renovate it up so that it could be rented out. And we, again, we're value add real estate investors. We wanted to buy the things that were very distressed. We wanted to get a very good price point. And then we wanted to increase the value through the investment that we would put into the property. Our ideal customer for that at the end of the day was someone who needed a place to live. They didn't necessarily want to be yet a homeowner, but they had a need for housing on the island of Puerto Rico. And so the way that we would find them is we would go to different property managers, property management companies, realtors who would help us identify the people who were looking for housing, and we would rent out our properties. When we first came to the island, our ideal renter at the time was a Section 8 tenant. Section 8 paid pretty fair prices across the board. And those tenants, once we got them in, we would get those rents from the government, and it was sort of like clockwork. Over time, rents have risen, and Section 8 has had some trouble keeping up, so we were renting to just market renters. Now we are back to renting to Section 8 renters because Section 8 has increased the rents. So the kind of market has these ebbs and flows, and when we first came to the island, the best renters were Section 8. Then over time, the market caught up, it passed Section 8, and then again, as time has gone on a little bit longer, Section 8 then sees that rents have increased, and they increased the vouchers. And so now we're back to renting to Section 8 renters. So those were our best clients for that type of housing at the time. And a third example, and this was new to us when we came to Puerto Rico, we heard that the island of Puerto Rico would reward real estate investors for creating hotel spaces. So they had a decided and apparent need to have more hotel rooms on the island of Puerto Rico, and they would give you tax breaks, and they would basically encourage the development of small hotels. So we started investing in that. And then obviously our end user for that is a traveler, right? Whether that's a local person who's on a weekend vacation or someone who's coming from the States who wants to stay in a nice place. And so these could be Airbnbs, these could be small guest house hotels, or these could be full-on hotels, right? So we even have some bed and breakfasts around the island. So that's three examples of who our end user would be. And in all cases, we would find them basically by letting the market bring them to us. Our job as value add real estate investors is to think about the highest and best use, renovate the building to that, and then we want to partner with someone who knows the market really well, and they will go out and find our ideal client for the end user.
Does deal structure have to be overly complicated, or can it be simple?
So a couple of ideas of deal structure. When we came to the island, we had already been partnering with people in the States who had some money, and we knew that our efforts were going to be very valuable. I say all the time that money's not usually the most important. I actually say it like this. Money's never the most important part of a real estate transaction. The ability to find a great deal, the ability to renovate it up to its highest and best use, and to get deals done and keep money flowing. So basically you, the real estate investor, generally you're the most important part of the deal. So when we came to the island of Puerto Rico, had a handful of people that had some money and we knew would follow us and would invest in our ventures. The deal structure that we had was super simple, right? So we've used this deal structure in Florida, we've used this deal structure in Puerto Rico. And basically the way the deal structure works is the person who puts up the money gets half of the deal because their money is valuable. And the person who finds the deal and does all of the work gets half of the deal. Now, those deal structures can become more complicated when you bring in other partners and different people are bringing different portions of the back end of the transaction, right? So we got, let's say, a realtor who finds a great deal and puts up his commission at a few $1,000s. And then you have me, the value add real estate investor who comes in with the highest and best use idea and a partner who's got most of the money. Now we've got to fit in all of those characters. And so the deal structure gets more complicated, but the general terms are the same, right? Like, so if you're on the money side, you're on the money side. So if you're that realtor and you've got a commission and $10,000, then, say your $13,000, $14,000 goes in on the money side, it gets its portion of half of the deal. And that same realtor is going to be on the side of doing the value add or doing all of the work, then they're going to share in that portion as well. And then you just have to figure out how you deservingly divide up the pie. We always believe that we'd like to be in more projects, right? Like, so we do a lot of partnerships, a lot of projects, because we believe that the money will come and we're okay hitting singles. We're okay taking our portion of the pie. a lot of times that looks like we give up a lot in order to be in business with people, but we do that because we want to expand our business. We do that because it enables us to do more deals.
Have you ever done a deal that's not 50-50, and how does that usually work out?
Have we ever done a deal that's not 50-50? We have. Bed and breakfast in Miramar right now that is going really, really well. And my company found the property. So we have three partners. We have PR consultants, Catherine Maria and Deb Rosso. And so we found the deal, and we were going to renovate the property up to its highest and best use. Catherine was going to put in some money and run the operations on the back end once we got it done. And Deb Rosso went out to the market and found most of the money. So we have a deal structure where it's thirds, and it's gone really, really well, right? So that's a success story for sure. Have we had other partnerships that didn't go so well? If you do enough partnerships, if you're like PR consultants and you partner with a lot of people, you are going to obviously have partnerships that do better than others. And you know what? If I knew at the start of things which ones were going to be the best deals, which partners were going to be the best partners, that would be a tremendous skill set. I don't always know. I do business with people that I know, like, and trust, and so we're consistent with that. And I would say, generally speaking, however we set up the partnership, as long as you know what the rules of the partnership are going in, and you stick to those rules, i.e. you don't go and change the rules midway through. You live with it. If you get into a deal structure where it's a three-headed monster and there are thirds, and someone feels like, PR consultants, for instance, feels like the lion's share of the work is put on our shoulders, we don't then, generally speaking, go back and try and change the deal and say, hey guys, we need more. And as long as we know what the rules are going in and you stick to them, your partnerships are going to go well. What happens when you start to change the rules midstream, those partnerships usually fail. Those partnerships, you'll usually want to exit as fast as you can, and then you just don't do the deal structure with those same partners again. So I hope that answers that question.
In your 25 years, have you ever changed the strategy when it comes to buying real estate? Why? And if you haven't, why?
Yeah, so the question is, in our experience, do you ever change the strategy of your real estate investing thesis? And over the last 26 years, guys, I would say that I have successfully been a wholesaler, a flipper, long-term buy and hold investor, a hotelier. We've bought HUD homes, we've bought foreclosures, we've bought from realtors, we've bought from just about anything that you could ever imagine. And when you think about the different strategies that exist out there, we've done most of them, and we talk about them on this channel. So I would say this, I would caution you as a new real estate investor, pick a way or two. And I would say the two that I would start with are either property wholesale and then buy, fix, and rent, or buy, fix, and sell and buy, fix, and rent. But one of my strategies would be going in as a new real estate investor, for sure, this idea of buy, fix, and rent, and then couple it maybe with wholesale and buy, fix, and sell, right? Like, so what we did, we started out, our first deal that we ever did, we were buy, fix, and sell. We were flippers. So we bought a property that was very distressed. We did everything, fixed it, the whole 9 yards. And then the idea was to put it back on the market and sell it. And so we were flippers. We were not wholesaling the property. We bought it from a wholesaler who contracted it for, say, 30 and sold it to us for 36. And then I fixed it up for another 30 and had 70 in it, and was trying to sell it for $110,000. And that was the first flip that we ever did. Guys, it went atrociously bad for us. It was a real learning experience. One of the best ways that I've ever learned about becoming a real estate investor was actually buying that and having just a calamity, having everything go wrong, really bad handyman, and learning that about myself, and the whole 9 yards. So by the end of that, I had completely shifted to the question, how was I going to do the next one? And so that first one taught me that I was a really, really bad, or just atrocious at being a handy person. I'm not the guy who should be fixing stuff. Demolition day was great. Like when we were breaking shit, I was phenomenal. I could handle that, man. And I still don't mind going in and kicking a door down and ripping out a kitchen. Those times are fun. You take your aggression out. But I was really bad at putting stuff back together. And so by the next one that I bought, and I bought the second house before I sold the first house, I never touched anything that needed to look good in a house again. So yes, strategies can, will, and should change. And by becoming a real estate investor, an entrepreneur, you will learn about yourself things that you had no idea, right? Like, so I probably deep down knew that I would be a bad carpenter, but I had luckily some friends who weren't bad at it, and I partnered with them. And so I just ended up being like the labor. I carried the bucket. I went outside and cut the grass and did some painting, as long as it was inside the big portions of the walls and not the trim and stuff. We got through it. But I learned in that first deal that I didn't really want to be the guy doing the work. And so we changed the strategy on the next one. I just hired the guys that were good at it. And then that's the way we went. We went and ran with it like that for, the next 50 or 60 deals. And at that time, we were buying houses through wholesalers, but also through the newspaper that people would put ads out. And we would prey on real estate agents who didn't know how to market their properties. And we would see the ads again and again that would describe this beautiful house. And then you would go look at it and it would be a disaster. And every time I would see this kind of mismarketed house, I would get a smile on my face, and I knew there was opportunity there. And we would buy the properties that were distressed and mismarketed and then fix them up a little bit. Or sometimes we weren't even fixing them up a little bit. We would just take the property that we were buying that was mismarketed and put it under contract and then remarket it and wholesale it. So there are just dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of ways to be a successful real estate investor and to be flexible. And that's part of being an entrepreneur.
Can you tell me, what was your strategy coming to the U.S.?
Yeah, okay. So the strategy coming to Puerto Rico, we came with 3 business models in mind. We were going to buy inexpensive houses, fix them up and sell them retail. We were going to buy small multifamily houses, fix them up and rent them. And we were going to buy, we thought, some properties from the bank that we could just wholesale altogether and wouldn't have to do much work at all. So when we got to the island of Puerto Rico, what we found was a massive amount of bank-owned properties and a massive amount of distress. So it was like a dream come true. We also found an economy that was not in good shape, and there was a storm that had just taken away a whole bunch of houses. So there was a huge need for the kind of investing that we were going to do. And we knew that if we fixed it, there would be a line of buyers there, because you can't buy with an FHA loan a house that doesn't have doors and windows and power and running water. But I could buy it with cash and then cause it to have running water, power, doors and windows that worked and pass the FHA inspection, and then sell it to the person who wanted to live there. And so that was a great way for us to come to the island and start doing business. And that business model worked really, really well. Over the course of a year or so, we started to learn about different ways that the island would reward you for doing different types of investments. So we heard about this thing called Act 74, which was for tourism. And I started telling people that I was a hotelier from Florida. And the truth was, I had bought and sold a hotel one time. I was not a hotelier, but I was speaking this stuff into existence. I literally can point to a time where I was like, hey guys, I'm a hotelier. And my friends are like, what are you talking about? I'm a hotelier. I'm gonna buy hotels now. I'm gonna be in the hotel business. And just started spinning that story, telling people what I was gonna do. And lo and behold, it became true. And the reason that we changed to that was because of 30 or 40% tax credits, and the reward was there. So the deals were great anyways, but if you renovated the property and turned it into a small guest house with 7 rooms or more, you got these massive tax credits, and you got a whole bunch of other goodies. And we've got a lot of other content on that, Scott. So guys, you can check that out in the playlist. And we're going to put out a video very soon where we talk about selling our first ever tax credits and actually completing the process. So stay tuned for that. It's either harder to wholesale deals now because there's less bank-owned properties. So we're not able to find the distressed stuff on the housing level the way that we were when we first came to the island. I think that's part of it. The second part of it is that when we were first on the island, we were buying from the banks. And so we would get things under contract from the bank, and we would actually buy small bulks of property, and then we would just sell the pieces. We would close on them, and then we would sell the pieces at a wholesale level without ever touching them. Now, fast forward 6 years, the banks don't own that much real estate anymore. They've largely sold all of those foreclosures. There's some new stuff coming up, and we're identifying that, trying to go to the sale to buy at the courthouse steps. But the banks don't have a big group of REOs, so it makes wholesaling those properties more difficult. I believe that there's going to come a time very soon where Adon and I will be at the foreclosure sale, and we'll buy a foreclosure for say $40,000 or $50,000, and it'll be worth fixed up $150,000, and we'll just wholesale it on to the next guy for 65 grand. I think that day is coming, but it kind of has eluded us for the last few years. Hey guys, thanks for sticking with us and watching that question and answer session. If you like this kind of content, leave us some questions in the comments or send us an email at theflipflopflipperpr@gmail.com. We want to answer your questions, guys. We're willing to tell you exactly what we do and why we do it, how we do it. We invite partnerships. And so hopefully you give this video a like, you smash that subscribe button for us, guys. Become part of our community. Let's do a deal together. God bless.